Latest news coming out of Iran. Iran vows retaliation for Israel's latest preemptive strike in Lebanon. The United States has sent more warships to the Mediterranean, preparing for a battle with Iran that Israel is instigating. There's a couple of things I'd like to go over here with you. As you can see from this article in Al Arabiya, Israeli military official says preparing response preparing response to Iran attack. Israeli official told AFP on Saturday that the military is preparing a response to the Iranian missile barrage that targeted Israel earlier this week. The IDF is preparing a response to the unprecedented and unlawful Iranian attack on Israeli citizens in Israel. Poor baby. You don't like it when civilians are killed, do you? I mean, this is really at the height of hypocrisy. You're not going to get anything more of a clearer definition of what hypocrisy actually is. And these people in the Israeli military and government think that Arab and Muslim lives, Shia and Sunni lives, are cheaper than Jewish lives. And this is what's going on here. It's now acceptable for the Israeli government to basically say we can kill 1,000 people if we can get to one terrorist. That's where we're at. And I'm sorry, this is the reason why international law exists in the first place, where we have the four main Rome statutes: war crimes, crimes against humanity, crimes of aggression, and I forgot the other one, genocide. So this way, civilians will be protected, but not in this case because Israel's not a co-signer to the Rome statutes, neither is the United States. And maybe that's the reason why they get away with things like this, because they feel they're not held accountable. They don't need to be. Who the fuck are you to hold us accountable? We're going to hold you accountable. Hamas killed 1,000 people. We're going to kill about 100,000. Israel's left-leaning newspaper Haaretz, quoting the military, reported that the military's response will be significant. The IDF is preparing for a significant strike in Iran following this week's missile attack from Tehran, which will be a big mistake. This is how the United States is going to intervene, because Israel cannot fight Iran alone. They'll get wiped out in 2 weeks. 2 weeks. Their military is weak. They can't beat Hamas. How are you going to beat Iran? How are you going to beat Hezbollah in Lebanon? On October 1st, Iran launched about 200 missiles at Israel, its second direct attack on the country in less than 6 months. Iran said the missiles were launched to avenge the assassination of Hezbollah chief Hassan Nasrallah, who was killed by an Israeli airstrike in the Lebanese capital on September 27th. And don't forget what's going on in Gaza, because Israel likes to fight multiple wars on multiple fronts. Israel issues new evacuation order in Gaza on attacks in Nusrat, kills 12. Israel has issued a new warning to thousands of displaced Palestinians sheltering in central Gaza, saying its military is preparing to use great force against Hamas in the area as it continues to pummel the besieged strip with attacks that have killed at least 12 people since Saturday morning, a low number for Israel. The evacuation call issued on Saturday in the first weeks in Gaza, signaling another possible humanitarian crisis with a new wave of mass displacement as Israel's war approaches its one-year mark, having killed at least 41,825 Palestinians, mostly women and children, and wounding at least 96,910, and displacing close to 2 million people. I'm going to get to that in a minute, why that's happening. It's not a conspiracy, it's a fucking fact. What's really going on here, the bigger picture. It's not about Hamas. It's not about Hezbollah. They're being used as a jumpstart to what the plan already was in place decades ago. Map showing the area to be evacuated was attached to the order posted on the social media platform Twitter. I'm not calling it X, by the Israeli army. You're near the Netzarim corridor, a strip of land that Israeli forces occupy that separates northern Gaza from southern Gaza. The area has been previously evacuated due to deadly Israeli attacks. Al Jazeera's Hind Qudri, reporting from Deir el-Balah in central Gaza, said that before the warning, Israel carried out deadly bombardment in the area in the Nusrat refugee camp. Israel hit a home and killed 6 members of a family. Whoops. Oh, we don't need to say whoops because we're not under international law. Fuck them. Oh, our prime minister and defense minister are wanted by The Hague? Fuck them. They're thumbing that nose at the world. They don't give a shit. They don't care about you. The Israeli government are run by psychopaths. Racist psychopaths. They're the most racist cabinet ever in Israeli history. That's saying something. I mean, if you're basically going to defend Israel at this point, you lack human empathy. Empathy. You do. End of story. I can't believe how many American Zionists are basically saying, well, they shouldn't have started on October 7th, like as if the history started on October 7th. Hamas just came out of nowhere and just started attacking people. That's how it is. That's how simple-minded these people of the very extreme forms. I'm not going to say they're of the right because these are not even your classic conservatives. These are monsters. I don't know what they are. I'm not like, in other words, what things are bad when Dick Cheney, one of the worst human beings on planet Earth ever, is siding with Kamala Harris because that represents the old establishment. Right? They represent the military-industrial complex, the intelligence services, warrantless wiretapping, military invasion of Middle East, the destabilization of Central and South America, the forced invigilation of human constructs on the American people to where they're the enemy to one another and that they're poor and undereducated. But on the other side of that fence is something, even so ghastly that it made Dick Cheney side with Kamala Harris, and that is the people under Trump, not Trump specifically. He's not the author of Project 2025. It's the people under him, just like the people under Netanyahu. Netanyahu is evil. He belongs to burn in the imaginary hell Christians believe. But the people under him are far worse. Bezalel Smotrich, Ben Gvir. These are the people that believe that God has given them the right to kill every single Muslim on the face of the earth because they're not Jewish. And that Israel has to remain totally Jewish, free of any Islamic presence. The destruction of Al-Aqsa Mosque, yeah, all of it. What's under Trump are the Christian evangelicals. There's a split within them. You have one smaller group of people that tend to side with Israel. And then you have another who hate Jews, who want to use Israel to facilitate their imaginary ghoulish scenario of having the last war of Megiddo to basically end the war of all wars where the entire nation's wars and armies meet and the return of Christ comes and kills all the people that don't convert. Well, the Jews, the religious ones, anyway, the Haredi, the Kahanists, they believe in the third temple being rebuilt. When that comes, the Mashiach arrives in the end of the world. That's what's coming. I'm not making this up. This is what they believe. This is what's in the government currently. So much so that, neocons like, Dick Cheney are siding with Kamala Harris, who has no, and all this, you people that want to say there's a left and right, there never was. It's one party, it's it. Iran actually is not just going to sit there and take it. In fact, they made a statement, right? Iran warns of unconventional response in case of a new Israeli attack. Everything's predictable here, right? Iran has told the United States via an intermediary that an Israeli attack against Iran would meet an unconventional response that targets Israeli infrastructure. In exclusive remarks to Al Jazeera, an Iranian official told on Thursday that his country, Iran, has sent a message to the United States via Qatar, where the Hamas leadership actually is, and Israeli knows it. And by the way, Israel actually gives money to Hamas. They facilitate its rise. That's not a conspiracy, it's a fact, because Netanyahu basically said in the meeting that in order for us to basically pound the Palestinians out of Gaza, we need to support Hamas. Hey, he said that. It's public. I don't have I think people who know me well know that I don't have to tell half truths, and I don't do that. I report as is. And for you Israelis and Christian Zionists that think I'm just an anti-Jew or an anti-Semite, the majority of my channel is criticizing Islamic fundamentalists because I'm a 9/11 channel. I do report on the latest news, but I also criticize everybody. You can't call me an anti-Semite; it doesn't work. Sorry. In the message, Tehran told Washington that the phase of unilateral self-restraint has ended, adding that individual self-restraint does not secure our national security requirements. The indirect message also emphasized that Iran does not want a regional war, the official said. On Wednesday, Israel pledged to respond after Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps fired a two-way ballistic missile at military and security targets in Israel. Notice how they didn't do it in civilian areas, specific attacks to minimize damage. Well, the Israelis don't give a shit. They just spray rockets. You know, for them, it's about the reaction, right? You'll always hear me say the action is in the reaction by Saul Alinsky. But that's true. So they allow for like October 7th to happen. Yeah, Israel allowed that to happen. That's not a conspiracy. That's a fucking fact because the Israeli IDF, who was stationed at the Jericho Wall, I feel like a broken record at this point, actually were reporting months prior to the attacks that Hamas was building tunnels. And they said, no, it wasn't. It was farmers, the building, making, they were building ditches for water underneath to build water drainage pipes. I mean, they were just being ignored all months long. And it wasn't just one, it was dozens of Israeli soldiers. And they ignored it. Why? Because they knew an attack was coming, and so that they could prepare themselves to respond, over respond. Why? Why was this about an over response? Because this is about one issue that was brought up by the founder of modern day Israel, Theodore Herzl, called Greater Israel. A couple of months ago, I think in June, there was a picture of an IDF soldier with a Greater Israel badge on his uniform. And for those who don't know anything about Greater Israel, you can see here, right, that this is about this is what Greater Israel is about. And I'm going to show you a map. This is what Theodore Herzl imagined. Right? Here's Israel. Right here. North of Syria. East of Iraq. West of Egypt. South of Saudi Arabia. Oh, yeah. You Gulf partners that's basically stood silent all these decades regarding Israel's treatment of the Palestinians. I've always said in previous videos, you could take a look at my old, latest news playlist on my old channel, and you'll see in the latest news where I basically said that after the defeat of Iran, Lebanon, and Syria, Saudi Arabia is next because they're just using the Gulf. Because you idiots and the Sunni Wahhabi branch think that you're untouchable because we got the United States on our side. Well, no, the United States will show far more allegiance to Israel than you. They're only using you to regulate oil. They're only using you as a launch pad for military operations against your preconceived enemies. And also there's 9/11. Okay, they have memories. And no one's going to feel sorry for you because the Shia minority, who you've ignored all these years, are going to ignore you when your turn is coming. So, yeah, this is the old Theodore Herzl's plan. Okay. And, according to his diary, his private memoirs, which I'll read to you here. And this is page 711. Discuss with Bodenheimer the demands we will make. Area from the Brook of Egypt to the Euphrates. Stipulate a transitional period with our own institutions. A Jewish governor for this period. Afterwards, a relationship like that between Egypt and the Sudan. And the Sultan, I'm sorry. As soon as the Jewish inhabitants of a district amount to 3/4 of the population, Jewish administration goes in force politically, while local government, communal autonomy, always depends on the number of voters in the community. These are Bodenheimer's ideas, in part excellent. A transitional stage is a good idea. And that is about the project of the Greater Israel Project, which is based also, there were other foreign policy outlines. I did a video on the Oded Yanam plan. You have Samuel Cohn's geopolitical concepts, Theodore Herzl's memoirs, where they all talk about territorial expansion in time. Gradual expansion to where no one's really noticing until it's too late. And just to, for those who are video minded, right? I need video evidence. I need more. Well, Avi Lipkin, who's an Israeli politician and author, also said live on air that the goal of Greater Israel is to expand. Yeah, here's Avi Lipkin here.
Eventually, our borders will extend from Lebanon to the Great Desert, which is Saudi Arabia, and then from the Mediterranean to the Euphrates. And who's on the other side of the Euphrates? The Kurds. And the Kurds are our friends. So we have the Mediterranean behind us, the Kurds in front of us, Lebanon, which really needs the umbrella of protection of Israel. And then we're going to take, I believe we're going to take Mecca, Medina, and Mount Sinai and purify those places.
And there you go. Look, I'm not about embellishing news. I don't need to. This is it. I'll give it to you right in your face without bias and prejudice. I'm not persuaded by human ideology. I just report as is. And then I make comments on my own personal comments. Whether you respect those or not, that's up to you. But look what's going on. Intelligence means information. Information in the hands of the very few means power is in the hands of the very few, because information is power. Irresponsibility to responsibility, inaction to action. That's why I always say disseminate belief from fact. You can believe whatever you want. You're in a state of paralysis. You can't do nothing with it. So many people want to believe that Israel's doing the right thing. Very few people know they're doing the wrong thing. A few people want to say that the United States should help Israel, but very few people say that shouldn't be. It's a detriment to our future and the future of geopolitics abroad. And they're right. Now, hurting all this are the Israeli people, because they'll be the victims in all this. Just like the Iranians, the Palestinians, the Lebanese, the Syrians, the Libyans, the North African states, Sudan, Kenya, as Boko Haram and Al-Qaeda affiliates, and Al-Qaeda in the Islamic Maghreb, Al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula are all building. Al-Qaeda in Afghanistan, I just did a video on that. I'm actually doing an interview of very prominent CIA case officials who one person basically infiltrated As-Sahab in Africa, and they talk about the growing threat in Afghanistan, which we're ignoring. Al-Qaeda and the Taliban forming a government, a military with billions of dollars of weapons that we left behind. The future is looking quite disastrous. And I wouldn't be surprised if the American people are basically going to be living right on the edge all the way until election And God forbid if my prediction comes true that Harris wins, and Harris wins by a hair, like a 51-49 type of deal. This is going to send the entire country in a panic because right-wing despots like Alex Jones and Russell Brand and Jordan Peterson, these are disgusting people because they're fake Christians and Zionists. That's what they are. They don't believe in God. They believe in the dollar. They believe in profiteering. They're grifters. And they'll just basically say the election was stolen. And so many people will believe it because they don't want to live under another disastrous, extension of the Democrats' Harris Biden parody. That's what they are. They're a parody at this point because they know that the last 4 years have been a horror. But what they don't realize is that these people of the very extreme forms of the right, but I don't even, like I said, I hate to use that because there's nothing conservative about these people. I don't know what they are, but they're religious, quasi-religious nationalists that want to create the United States outside of the Bill of Rights, outside of the Constitution. What they want is the Bible to be led, and also their version of the Bible, their interpretation of the Bible, and that a central government consists of a leader and his cabinet. No FBI, no CIA, no Department of Justice, no executive branch, no judicial branch, no legislative branch, nothing like that. They don't want that. They want a new government. But their government is a monstrosity where people's rights are going to be very limited. Well, guess what? That's what Israel wants. Because what's coming after Netanyahu is infinitely worse. I mean, these people are psycho, real, like John Wayne Gacy, Jeffrey Dahmer types. And I'm not joking. Go read about Ben Gvir. I mean, Netanyahu doesn't say come right out and say I'm going to kill every Arab. These guys do. Why? Because nobody holds Israel accountable. If you don't hold Israel accountable for what they're doing now, they're basically saying in the background, we could basically come right out and say we're going to kill everybody, and they won't do nothing. Because the United States are a bunch of weak sellouts. Tom Cotton, John Fetterman, Nancy Pelosi, Joe Biden, Lindsey Graham, all sellouts. Richie Torres in New York. Richie Torres might be one of the worst sellouts I've ever seen because he talks more about Israel than his own southern district in the Bronx, which, by the way, is undergoing a massive amount of crime. Robberies, grand larcenies, rape, assaults. The only thing that's down is murder, but everything else is going up. Thank you, Richie Torres. You're a sellout. That's what you are. You're an Israeli sellout. You would never say what you say about Israel for free. It's about money with you. Anyway. All right, that's all I have to say for now. And look, this is going to be a big week. We have to watch what the response will be from Iran and Israel and the United States. And if it comes to fruition this week or next week, as we draw nearer to the election, I would, I'm not exaggerating. Please be patient, everybody. Be tenacity counts. You have to remain steadfast and stoic. At this point, it's hard. Stressful conditions, economically and stuff, so please, report honestly. We need more of this because we have so many sensationalists reporting as is. The basis of my channel, the essence of my channel is to basically give power in the hands of the people with information. It's the only way we're going to make change, but we can't do it, with just me and, 20 others. We need thousands and thousands of people, but that's going to take time. But time is not our friend. Guys, listen, have a great weekend. Any more new updates, of course, you'll be the first to hear it. Thank you very much. Have a good weekend.